This show is brought to you by Safety FM.
I still remember the time you walked into the room and said you were lonely. Can you please follow through? A bleeding heart's unkind for those who always say good things will always come to those who always wait. Everybody sing, oh, I've become what I've become. I wanna be rest assured that all my words I want. Everybody sing, oh, I'll take back every word one day. I got a lot of things to say, so take me back to my nostalgia. So forget about the past, this endurance will hardly last, and winter will wait patiently for warm spring to come.
The following program is rated MA-LSV. It contains strong language, sexual situations, and violence. It is intended only for mature audiences.
Finally, show with the balls to call it like it is. Rated R Safety Show on Safety FM.
Countdown to audio torture.
The Rated R Safety Show starts in 3, 2, 1.
Let the eardrum pain begin.
Forget the corporate bullshit. This is the Rated R Safety Show with your host, Dr. It doesn't matter who the host is.
Oh, you already know this, that even on the terrific Tuesday known as June the 16th, it does not matter who the host is. Anyways, we are broadcasting from the Safety FM studios in Orlando, Florida, and coming across the multiverse known as Safety FM, and then hanging out with our friends and colleagues over there.
Radio Big. USA, Canada, UK.
Oh, yes, Radio Big, not to be confused with Big Radio. For some reason, there's always the confusion there of stuff that's going on. So anyways, how's the last 24 hours or so been for you? Have you been keeping up with the news cycle? Have you been taking a look around at everything that's going on inside of the multiplex and inside of the multiverse? Multiplex is important to some people. So just a curiosity question. So there you go. Anyway, so let's talk about this. Our show consists of safety in the news and safety. That's just kind of what we do around here, kind of the whole premise of the show, if you kind of look at it from that particular fashion. What we do is we talk about everything that's going on inside of this multiverse of ours, and then we kind of come back and report it here. We do have some professional broadcasters that come in, talk about what the hell is going on, and then we kind of go from there. So that's the whole kit and caboodle. Thank you if you've been here before and you decided to come back and take a listen to what's going on. No doubt about that. So as we go through it, if you want to interact with the show, it's simple to do so. All you have to do is go to callinradio.com. That's callinradio.com. Once you get there, audio, video, and text messaging is exactly what you'll have the access to. Once you do anything inside of that screen or I get a prompt over here. Puts it into the corner of my screen, kind of lets me know what the hell you want to do. If it gets too bombarded, I kind of ignore it. So just so you know, I just don't want to lie and be like, hey, I sent you something and you didn't do anything. Yeah, this depends on what the hell's going on. So there you go. That is the whole kits or itser. I don't know. It's just kind of the way that I do it. Kind of the way that the whole thing works out. So with that being said, I do have some friends from Feature Story News that are hanging out this morning. They're ready to talk about what the hell's going on. We're ready to take a listen for sure on what's happening inside of the multiverse of ours, because why would we not be ready to have that brief discussion there? So if you're good with this, I am definitely good with this. We can definitely go into the news storios and see what exactly is going on. So with that being said, let's go ahead and do this right now and bring you some news.
Here is the news on the Rated R Safety Show.
From Feature Story News in New Delhi, I'm Mishan Garg. US President Donald Trump says Washington and Tehran have signed a deal to end the conflict and start further negotiations on Iran's nuclear program. The two sides are scheduled to take part in a signing ceremony on Friday in Geneva. Nick Harper reports from Washington.
The deal's all signed, and the strait is already partially open.
President Donald Trump celebrating the deal that he and Vice President J.D. Vance have electronically signed. Iran's lead negotiator and Parliament Speaker Mohammad Ghalibaf signing for the Iranians. Vance told CNBC the agreement is good for both sides.
I think the Iranians fundamentally have a good choice here in front of them, whether to be a normal country or whether to pursue a nuclear weapon.
But there are few details about what both sides have agreed to. Trump said the text of the deal will be released after Friday. But this is the initial step to move to the next stage of negotiations, where they'll address sanctions relief and unfreezing billions of dollars of Iranian funds. They'll also confront the toughest issue, Iran's enriched uranium. The deal sets out 60 days to negotiate the future of Iran's nuclear program. I'm Nick Harper in Washington.
Asian stocks were a mixed bag on Tuesday as investors paused to assess the durability of the rally fueled by the US-Iran deal to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Japan's central bank raised its policy rate to the highest in over 30 years at 1%, in line with expectations. Laura Westbrook reports from Hong Kong.
South Korea's Kospi was on the rise, helped by chip makers and tech stocks, but Hong Kong and Chinese shares lagged following a round of weak economic data from mainland China. Japan's Nikkei 225 was largely flat amid the Bank of Japan's first hike since December. The policy tightening comes at a time when Japan has been struggling with a weak yen and inflation creeping up in part due to the Iran war.
Nepal's Foreign Minister Shishir Kanal met his Chinese counterpart Wang Yi on Monday during his first visit to the neighboring country since his party swept to power in March. His ongoing 4-day trip comes after Kanal visited China's rival India earlier this month.
The timing of Nepal's foreign minister's trip to China is notable after spending 3 days in New Delhi at the invitation of his Indian counterpart in the first week of June. It highlights Nepal's efforts to maintain ties with both neighbouring powers. The South Asian country's Communist Party-led coalition government suffered a crushing defeat in general elections in March, presenting a challenge for Beijing. China's top diplomat Wang Yi, in a statement, said China has always placed Nepal at the forefront of its neighbourhood diplomacy. During his visit to Delhi, Kanal said Nepal was free from the political baggage of the past and ready to improve ties with India. Rebecca Bundin, Mumbai.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks. Today, 2 takes on the proposed ceasefire deal between the US and Iran that is expected to be signed on Friday. Gideon Rachman, chief foreign affairs columnist at the Financial Times, says he's not sure the Israelis will go along with it.
Probably the biggest single danger is that at some point fighting restarts in Lebanon. The Israelis are obviously unhappy, and there are journalists who are close to Netanyahu ready tweeting this is a disaster and so on. But the Israelis have very difficult choices to make because they can't really afford an open confrontation with Trump. My guess is that reluctantly they will go along with it for now, but that long term they're angry that Iran has successfully linked the war in Lebanon to the opening of the Strait of Hormuz and sort of tied Israel's hands.
And Ahmed Kuzai, Middle East analyst based in Bahrain, worries that Iran will be hugely strengthened by the agreement.
So far, the memorandum, it's a 60 days framework revolving around the Strait of Hormuz, Lebanon, nuclear deal, and the economic relief, where the Iranian sanction funds will be reimbursed. And I think we still all remember the last time sanction funds were released. 7th of October happened. So can we imagine with more money what Iran will do? An empowered Iran won't be an easy enemy to tackle. It will be empowered.
Lost in all of this, Iranians who oppose the country's government and who will now be expected to continue living under its brutal rule. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
FSN is an independent source of news for TV, radio and digital networks worldwide. You can find more of our minute-by-minute updates on Twitter. Follow us there at Feature Story. And we have a wealth of audio and video stories from our global news bureaus on Facebook. You can find us there by following Feature Story News. Stay tuned for further updates right here, but for now, that is the latest Feature Story News. Ishan Garg reporting.
This show is almost as enjoyable as hearing the sound of Rated R Safety Show on Safety FM.
Do you have a claim and not sure where to turn? Coastal Claim Consultants are professionally licensed and bonded public insurance adjusters employed exclusively by you, the policyholder, to represent you after sustaining an insured loss. They assist policyholders in all aspects of processing the claim, working closely with the insured to provide the most equitable and timely settlement possible. They will provide you with comprehensive service, anything from inspecting the loss site, analyzing damages, compiling claim support data, reviewing applicable coverages, assessing replacement costs of damages, and negotiating your settlement. The adjusters at Coastal Claim Consultants will evaluate your claim for no upfront cost whatsoever. Coastal Claim Consultants' fee is based on contingency contracts and are paid when the insurance company sends you a check and it's in your possession. Coastal Claim Consultants are licensed to assist you in the following states: Florida, Texas, Oklahoma, Georgia, and South Carolina. For more information, go to coastal-cc.com. That's coastal-cc.com. For more information, lighting the way to recovery. Coastal Claim Consultants.
What if everything we thought we knew about safety was just interference? From the host of the Rated R Safety Show and the founder of Safety FM comes the complete signal transmission trilogy, now available in one powerful edition. Safety, in my opinion. The book that started the conversation. Safety Mutation, where the boundaries of culture, systems, and belief begin to break. And now, Safety Transmission, the final piece of the signal. For the first time, all three books are together in one volume. The Signal Transmission Trilogy, Complete Edition. This isn't just about compliance. It's about consciousness. It's about decoding the way we think, lead, and live, inside and outside the system. Whether you've been following the signal since the beginning or you're just now tuning in, this is the version to own. Search Signal Trilogy on Amazon or visit safetyfm.com to get your copy now.
This portion of the show has been sponsored by Private Internet Access, America's #1 virtual private network, or VPN. Even if you use incognito mode, internet service providers is storing your browser data and many times even selling it. But Private Internet Access, or PIA, can help you. PIA encrypts and reroutes your internet traffic through one of its own servers, hiding your data from your internet service provider or network admin. And with servers in over 75 countries, you can get unrestricted access to geo-blocked content from around the world. PIA comes with easy-to-use apps and browsers extension for all devices, a rock-solid privacy policy, open source security, advanced customization settings, and it was just ranked the fastest VPN in the world by PC Magazine. And if you sign up right now with PIA, you can take advantage of a special deal only for Safety FM listeners. Only by using the following link, you can get the digital privacy for less than $2 a month. Yes, you did hear me correctly, less than $2 a month, and an extra 4 months for free. So that means for only $1.98 a month and 83% off, you can get this service for you right now. That's so much more inexpensive than virtually every other VPN on the market. And if you get it right now, you can take PIA's 30-day risk-free challenge. You can try it out for 30 days, see if you like it, and if not, just return it for a full refund. So just go to safetyfm.com/VPN. That's safetyfm.com/VPN to try out the best VPN on the planet completely risk-free. Now remember, safetyfm.com/VPN.
You are listening to a radio god. What? This has to be an error. That host is not a radio god. Anyways, this is the Rated R Safety Show on Safety FM.
Okay, here we go. 15 minutes past the top of the hour as you and I are hanging out on this lovely Tuesday, talking a little bit about everything that is going on inside of the world of the multiverse, because that's just kind of what we do around here, no doubt about that. So if you're ready to go angle in, let's go ahead and start talking right away about some of the craziness that is happening inside of the multiverse, because that's kind of what we do around here. We talk a little bit about everything that is going on. So, let's start off with this one, because you know that at some point we're going to hit the political game. So if we just do it now and get it over with, it's kind of a lot quicker. So during an interview on ABC Good Morning America, George Stephanopoulos pressed Vice President J.D. Vance over questions surrounding the newly announced peace agreement between the U.S. and Iran. George challenged Vance on whether the President Donald Trump had backed away from his earlier demands of Iran to offer the unconditional surrender before the deal could be reached. Vance rejected the characterization, arguing that the administration used military pressure to force Iran to the negotiation table and ultimately secured a favorable agreement. The interview then turned into concerns raised about Lindsey Graham, who said that he was worried that Iran's description of the deal appeared to differ from the U.S. negotiators were saying. Stephanopoulos pointed out the reports in the Iranian media claiming that Tehran experts frozen assets to be released before signing the agreement. Vance firmly denied those reports, saying that that Lindsey and others should not rely on what we called headliner propaganda, and from Iran instead of waiting to review the actual agreement. He said that the full text of the deal is expected to be released later this week. Here's what the clip sounded like. No, like seriously. This is what the clip sounded like. Why is it that when I press stuff around here, sometimes it decides not to go with me? It decides to do its own thing.
You know, back on March 6th, about a week into the war, President Trump put out a post on Truth Social saying there will be no deal with Iran except unconditional surrender. So why did he reverse course and agree to this deal now?
Well, George, I don't think he reversed course. I think fundamentally the president's argument was we are going to use the military to exert pressure on Iran, and we're going to get something that is good for the American people, and now we have that. And just to recap where we are, George, Iran's nuclear program is completely destroyed. What this deal fundamentally does is it reopens the Straits of Hormuz. You see oil prices have already come down substantially just in the last 24 hours. But it also simultaneously provides a two-path option for the Iranians. On the one hand, if they continue to try to rebuild their nuclear program, this deal ensures they will never have the resources in order to do that. On the other hand, if the Iranians are willing to give a long-term commitment, along with proper verification to giving up that nuclear weapon, we're willing to welcome them into the world economy, to lift some sanctions, and to turn over a new leaf in that relationship. What the president really wanted to do, not just with the last 6 weeks, but really the last year and a half of Iran policy, is to get us to a place where we could change our relationship fundamentally with the Iranians and ensure that they never have a nuclear weapon. We feel that we're at that place now. We're, of course, going to continue to verify that, continue to negotiate and talk to the Iranians. But this is a big day for the American people, a big win for everybody who cares about basic peace and stability in the Middle East.
Everybody who cares about basic. It's kind of an interesting approach. I mean, just think about that for a moment as we are talking. So a lot of stuff going on inside of the world as we are hanging out. So what do you think here? Interesting, right? Okay, so let's continue talking because we're already in the
political realm.
California Governor Gavin Newsom says that he and his wife, Jennifer Siebel Newsom, are under investigation by the Department of Justice. Newsom claims that President Trump is targeting him because he is considering a 2028 presidential run, calling the probe a political hit list. He says the federal agents have contacted family members, friends, former employers, and nonprofits associates, while reports indicate that at least one investigation is exclaiming that Jennifer Newsom's finances. Newsom denies wrongdoing and has challenged the president to focus on any of the investigation of him rather than his family. So there you go. Take a listen to what had to be said.
In recent days, federal agents have knocked on the doors of family, friends, and former employees. Not because they found a crime, because they're simply trying to find one. They're demanding records. They're abusing the grand jury process, digging through years and years of random documents. Donald Trump isn't just coming after me because of my mean tweets. He's coming after me because I'm considering running for president, because he hates that I've consistently called him out over and over again for his lies and deceit. Trump is simply the most corrupt president in American history. He's turned the levers of government into his own personal power ministries to reward cronies and to try to jail his opponents. His personal attorney now runs the Department of Justice, which has repeatedly gone after his political enemies. One by one, anyone who has challenged Donald Trump has ended up on his hit list. And today, I proudly joined that list. Just in the last week, I've learned that his campaign has reached my own home. To get me, he's coming after my wife, Jen. Donald Trump picked the wrong target. We have nothing to hide.
So there you go. That's what Gavin Newsom had to say in regards to some of the things that are going on his side of the planet. So what do you think here? Kind of makes things a little bit more interesting, if I may say so myself. So a lot of stuff going on right there as we are talking. I mean, think about that for just one brief moment on how that would actually work out. I mean, hey, interesting times. Let's continue talking real quick, if you do not mind, in regards to some of the things that are going on. A B-52 bomber crashed shortly after takeoff from Edwards Air Force Base in California yesterday morning, sending thick black smoke into the Mojave Desert sky. Emergency crews rushed to the scene, and the base is temporarily closed in its airfield while diverting incoming aircrafts. Officials have not yet confirmed the cause of the crash or whether there were any injuries. The B-52, one of the Air Force's longest-serving bombers, can carry massive payloads, including conventional and nuclear weapons. So there you go. Some things to think about as we are talking. So what do you think here? Always interesting when you start hearing all kinds of crazy stuff, huh? Take a listen to this one coming up. President Trump announced plans for a massive July the 4th celebration in Washington, D.C., calling it the most spectacular Trump rally of all of them. Let's see, as the nation's marks the 250th birthday, the event is set to take place in the Lincoln Memorial and Washington Monument, featuring patriotic tributes, live festivities, and what Trump promised will be the largest fireworks show in history. The early morning announcement came just hours after Trump's Freedom 250 UFC theme Flag Day and birthday celebration at the White House. In a series of social media posts, the president also promoted the upcoming America's 250 event, praised his administration policies, and highlighted the start of the summer-long celebration leading up to the nation's milestone anniversary. So there you go. What do you think here? A lot of stuff, though. A lot of stuff going on. I mean, let's not lie here about some of the things that are going on. I mean, it's just kind of the way that it goes. What else do I have for you? I got another one here. Take a listen to this one. A 21-year-old Brazilian student, Maria Eduardo Rodrigues de Freitas, died after jumping from a 130-foot bridge during an illegal bungee jumping event when staff allegedly failed to attach the safety cord. An off-duty nurse, Raiza Diaz, rushed to the scene and said that Rodriguez Fertitas was still alive when rescuers reached her. Diaz recalled speaking to the young woman and trying to comfort her after the fall, but despite the rescue efforts, she later died from her injuries. The tragedy occurred at the abandoned bridge in Sao Paulo, known as the Skeleton Bridge. Authorities have arrested 3 bungee jump operators on homicide charges, alleging negligence and led to the fatal accident. 2 of the suspects reportedly fled the scene and were located by authorities, and the incident remains under investigation. I know we spoke briefly yesterday about this, but man, it gets crazier and crazier as we keep on talking about it, is definitely what it sounds like. So what do you think here? Not a big fan of the bungee jumping thing. I mean, just kind of the way that it works. So there you go. Okay, so let's talk, because you are aware that things are getting stranger and stranger out there. So when an incident comes up that's just kind of out of the blue sky, and we go, hey, we probably need to talk about this, we're going to talk about it. Okay, so sky watchers across 15 states, 1-5, were treated to a spectacular sight on Sunday night when bright fireballs streaked across the sky after a 10:30 p.m. Central Time. Reports poured that states including Illinois, Missouri, Arkansas, Texas, South Carolina, Tennessee, with some witnesses saying that the object appeared to break apart before vanishing. According to the American Meteor Society, the object believed to have been a meteor rather than space junk.
Space junk.
Experts are now analyzing the path to determine whether any fragments survived the fiery descent and may have reached the ground. So what do you think here? No, it's definitely interesting. Let's not lie here. What an interesting time. I'm just saying. I mean, think about this for just a brief moment. We're talking about some wildness here about people going, holy shit, over 15 states saw this, noticed it. So there you go. So let's talk about some other things going on real quick. A Kentucky man is facing felony charges after allegedly shooting a restaurant employee who tried to stop him from leaving a Texas roadhouse without paying. Police say that 24-year-old Ronald Winter tried to walk out on his bill when the employee confronted him and grabbed his arm. According to investigators, Winters reached for a gun, and during the struggle, the weapon discharged, hitting the employee in the shoulder. The victim was hospitalized with non-life-threatening injuries. Winter was arrested at the scene and charged with second-degree assault. The restaurant temporarily closed during the investigation, but reopened the following day. Thanking first responders in the community for their support, Winters remains in custody with a $25,000 bond and is scheduled for a preliminary court hearing on June the 22nd. That's one way to make sure that the steak is well done. Your criminal your criminal record is what it sounds like there. So what the hell's going on there? So take a listen to this one, because you know that if it doesn't get into the strange neighborhood, we kind of don't talk about it, but man, this one got weird. This one got weird quick. California man who spent years trying to learn how his father died uncovered an even bigger mystery. Mark Wells remains exhumed in 2019 that had been buried as his father, Dale Wells, since 1985. DNA testing revealed the shocking truth. You ready for the shocking truth? The body wasn't his father's at all. Dale disappeared in 1985 at age 38, and a body found months later near his wife's home was identified, though the dental records and buried under his name. But the recent DNA comparison with Dale's sister proved that the remains belonged to someone else. Now, more than 40 years after his disappearance, Dale is officially listed as a missing person again. And authorities have reopened the case. Mark is left wondering not only what happened to his father, but also who buried him in this place all these years. So think about this for a second. You had some questions about how your parent died. All of a sudden, you exhumed a body. They ran a DNA test. And besides that, you don't know how your parent died. You don't know who this person is, or if your parent's still even alive. That becomes extremely complicated. But I'm going to tell you that if it's been since 1985, I'm pretty sure the person probably is not trying to hide themselves, because that's just way too long in regards to some things that are going on. I mean, I'm just saying, what do you think? I mean, don't you look at it from that way? How else would you look at this? So let's talk about some other stuff. A British man calling his survival a miracle after a gin-making accident nearly killed him. Lee Taylor was testing distilling equipment at a brewery when a container became overpressured and exploded, blowing the roof off the building and engulfing him in a fireball. Yeah, I did say fireball. Taylor suffered severe burns to his face, hands, and legs and spent 5 weeks in a coma. During that time, he suffered a cardiac arrest and was clinically dead for 8 minutes before the doctors revived him. He underwent multiple skin grafts, endured months of painful recovery, and had to relearn how to walk and move normally. Now, 2 years later, Taylor has turned his ordeal into a mission. He's riding an e-trike, whatever an e-trike is. I guess it's kind of like a tricycle, I guess. And around the entire UK coastline with his dog Taco, to raise money to the air ambulance crew and hospital teams that helped save his life. That's one way to create a spirit that really knocks you out. I mean, what I don't even understand it. Like, how does it get pressurized like that it would do this? So there you go. Some things to talk about. Okay. So take a listen to this, because this is going to be a big one. The humble $2 bill is getting a break this year, with the Federal Reserve ordering 0 $2 bills to be printed this year. Ironically, the bill's rarity may be its own fault. Since many people collect and save $2 bills instead of spending them, they stay in circulation longer and don't need to be replaced as often. About 1.8 billion $2 bills are already in circulation. That's because it's low and Americans are using less cash overall. Officials see the little need to print more. The bills has survived several previous printing pauses and remain legal tender, despite many people thinking that they're fake when they first received one. So what do you think? $2 bills. Yeah, I have to tell you, I probably have collected way too many of those as well. Let's do this one real quick. As America prepares for the 250th birthday, a Vermont company has created commemorative bourbon made from spirit representing all 50 states. Lost Lanterns founders Nora Ganley Roper and Adam Polinsky spent years traveling around the country visiting craft distilleries and selecting one bourbon from each of their from each state to create their United States bourbon. The blend was released this week with multiple versions, including a special 1776 edition featuring bourbons that only have the original 13 colonies. The project highlights the explosive growth of American craft distilling industry and how it includes more than 2,200 producers. Wow, some whiskey experts say the 50 states blend as a clever way to tell America's story through bourbon. Others question whether it's just another novelty bottle. Either way, the patriotic pour arriving in time for the nation's 250th celebration, with a bottle selling for about $80 a pop. So there you go. Some things to think about as we are talking. Okay, 32 minutes past the top of the hour. Feels like it's main story time.
Here is our main story on the Rated R Safety Show.
Yep, some main story time for us to go into and talk about and do all of our stuff. So, I don't know how to start with this, but I think we should go. And I want to talk a little bit about a dirty little secret that keeps the gears of the modern corporate machine well greased. It is something that happens every single day in the boardrooms, in the trailers, in the manufacturing plants in this country, but nobody, especially the high-paid gatekeepers of the construct, have the testicular fortitude to print the memo about it. Today, we are decoding the ultimate weaponizing of the corporate compliance, safety as a proxy for executioners. So let's stop playing the character in their theater for a moment and look at the actual terrain. Every supervisor, line manager, and executive out there faces the constant operational dilemma. They have an absolute breakdown in human management. They have workers on the team who is difficult. Maybe it's a personality clash. Maybe it's the guy or the gal that asks too many inconvenient questions in the morning meeting. Maybe she or he refuses to echo the corporate slogans they hand down from the air conditioning towers. In a sane, high-trust organization, management would do the raw, unglamorous work of human intervention. They would step onto the blue line and look at that person in the eye and have a honest, unscripted conversation, and they would manage the relationship. but they don't know how. They are completely illiterate in human complexity. I mean, sorry, but it's just the reality of it. And more importantly, standard HR channels are slow, tedious, and require things like documentation, justification, and proof. So, what does the cowardly management class do when they want to eliminate a human being but don't want to do the heavy lifting of actual leadership? They don't call HR. They call us. And they weaponize the safety department to carry out the silent systemic hit. So let's talk about this real quick. Let's talk about the architect of the architecture, better saying, of the trap. Think about the sheer architecture of this trap. They paint a giant masterpiece on the wall called the map. It's the beautiful, overproduced rule set of zero tolerance policies, 500 pages of operational procedures, an absolute compliance milestone, and it looks like a safety heaven on paper. But out in the territory, it is nothing but localized, automated execution device is really what it is. The drop that worker into a high pressure system where the targets are impossible, the schedules are compressed, and the hidden system incentives reward speed over everything else. They squeeze that worker from the downstream operational side until they have no choice but to create an adaptation. A minor workaround just to survive the shift to hit the number the company demands. Do you know what I'm talking about? And that is exactly when the system snaps its jaw shut. The supervisor doesn't have to leave his office. He sits behind the glass window, staring at the closed circuit camera feed, completely devoid of actual operational presence. He waits. He watches. He filters out everything that's going right. And absolutely microsecond that targeted worker steps into an inch off of the painted line. Maybe they forget to latch the redundant hook. Maybe they drop the glove for 2 seconds. He hits the print disciplinary template. They don't fire that worker for being a personality problem. They don't fire them for challenging management's fragile ego. Oh no. They walk onto the floor with a straight face, slide a piece of paper across the table and say, "We have to let you go. We just fiercely committed to protecting out the workforce. It's a safety issue." It is a perfect corporate murder. It allows the cartel to liquidate the human being while wrapping the entire execution into the holy, the holy temple here. And we use it and say, oh, yes, this is about human care. So, what we are looking at here is Bruce Lee's famously called organized despair, or organized despair is what he called it. It is what happens when you take a rigid, dead system of rules, checklists, and forms and use it to choke out the living, breathing reality of human movement. Traditional safety programs aren't designed to support the operator. They are designed to give the institution discretionary power over the lives and dies inside of the company structure that they have management a handbook instead of a map. And then they wonder why the frontline team goes completely numb and silent. When you use safety as a tool of a proxy for discipline, you are injecting a massive amount of what Thomas Campbell calls high entropy straight into the bloodline of your culture. High entropy systems are loud, chaotic, and completely driven by fear. The panic that they react and default blame because it's easy. When the frontline watches the colleague get sacrificed at the altar of compliance theater, they don't look at the write-up and think, wow, I need to be safer. They look at the write-up and think the system is a liar. They realize the rules aren't there to protect them from danger. The rules are there to protect the company from liability and provide convenient mechanism to eliminate anyone that becomes inconvenient. So what happens? The entire network defaults to deep protective silence. The trust bandwidth drops to zero. Workers stop reporting the drift, and they stop sharing the system glitches. They start filling out observational cards, perfectly fabricated, unscripted right answers, just to keep the safety cops off their backs. And you think you've created the operation because the dashboard is green, but underneath the surface, you have created a high-risk minefield of unmitigated danger wrapped in absolute silence. You have built the black eye in prison out of your own paperwork. So if you are a safety practitioner, and this is important to say here, listening to this right now, in your truck, in your break room, at your desk, or you look in the mirror and ask the devastatingly uncomfortable question, are you a protector of human lives, or are you just a low-cost contract killer for HR? Have you allowed the department, your certification, and your presence to be hijacked by the management class that doesn't have the guts to lead? Every single time you sign off on a disciplinary action plan that treats human error as a moral failure rather than a system symptom, you are validating a lie. You are reinforcing a construct that never cared about your people in the first place. It's time to step out of the character they wrote for you in the corporate compliance theater, and it's time to apply the real formlessness of operational risk. Stop defending the rule set that doesn't match the terrain. Reclaim the operational reality. We need to start hacking away the unessential and strip away the jargon. Tear down the progressive discipline forms that only serve as corporate hit lists, and start building an emotional and operational infrastructure that values the stories of your workplace over the optics of your spreadsheet. If someone needs to be managed out there in an organization because of performance issue, demand that management carry out the weight through the proper human channels. Refuse to let your safety shares and hazard reports to be used as the trap that drops the real worker into unemployment. Lower the entropy in your operations and reclaim your presence, and stop guarding the prison and start protecting the line. So here's what I'm going to tell you. Hold through here right now, and let's sit back of your mind while we step away for just a moment, because I have to tell you, you have to give some serious consideration to this if this is something that is going on inside of your workplace. Just don't let it be one of those things that happens and you entirely decide just to ignore it.
Oops! What did he just say?
We at Safety FM don't always agree with viewpoints of our hosts and guests.
Now back to real safety talk on Safety FM.
Don't go anywhere.
You're listening to the home of real safety talk.
You're listening to Safety FM. We'll be right back.
You've seen the loop. You've felt the shift. The script doesn't fit anymore, and neither do you. Safety transmission. The collapse of the construct is the third and final signal in the trilogy from J. Allen, Ph.D. And this time, it's not about waking up. It's about what you do once you're awake. The system didn't break. It just stopped pretending to hold you. And now it's blinking, rebranding presence, packaging resistance, and calling it progress. This book isn't a guide. It's a transmission. It doesn't teach the system how to evolve. It shows you how to stop performing for it. You'll see what happens when awareness becomes responsibility, when audits don't listen, and when leadership becomes a loop. But if you've made it this far, you're not here to be managed. You're here to carry signal. Safety transmission. The Collapse of the Construct. Now available in print, Kindle, and audiobook. Narrated by J. Allen, Ph.D. Because if it couldn't hold your signal, it was never real to begin with.
Let's start using cutting-edge warp speed 5G technology with your cell phone. Let me tell you about my friends at mobile.io. They have an ultra-fast 4G LTE and 5G network that covers 99% of Americans. So they've got you covered everywhere. Think about it for a moment. You have the opportunity to take a test drive for 10 days with unlimited talk, text, and premium premium data. What is premium data? Premium data is an allotment of a cellular data that you receive from a higher priority on the network. You won't get throttled like you will with some of those, well, non-brand service providers. To find out more information, all you have to do is go to mobilemobile.io. That's mobilemobile.io to start your 10-day free trial.
Hello. Is your safety training old, stale, and hacked? Is your safety trainer still preaching a warped version of behavior-based safety? How about safety training that actually addresses your hazards in your workplaces and is not standardized baloney from 25 years ago? Contact the Safety Wars team at safetywars.com or call Jim Posel at 845-269-5772. Remember, if you're receiving this message, you are the solution to unsafe workplaces.
Another pitfall of our society. Rated R Safety Show.
I'll take back every word one day. I got a lot of things to say, so take me back to my nostalgia. So forget about the past. This endurance will hardly last, and winter will wait patiently for warm spring to come.
Okay. Here we are, 46 minutes past the top of the hour as you and I are hanging out on this lovely Tuesday, getting to do all the fun stuff that we get to do normally. So, this right here you're taking a listen to? Yeah, this little song, Saints of Valerie. Yeah, apparently we have a theme going on here. Song is titled I've Become What I've Become. Songs readily available on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube Music, and Pandora. So there you go. A lot of stuff going on inside of the world of the multiverse. And that's what we do around here. We would like to thank Saints of Valerie for allowing us to play this here on the Rated R Safety Show. No doubt about that, as we are hanging out on this lovely Tuesday. So let's start talking about the most important thing that I will ever tell you in my lifetime, and that's about my friends at To Write Love on Our Arms. No matter what you're facing, you deserve to be connected to help. And we want you to know that people have been where you are now and that healing is possible. Things can get better. To find out more information, all you have to do is go to TWLOHA.com. That's TWLOHA.com and click on the section that says Find Help. Once you get there, you'll see all kinds of information for you related to addiction, depression, anxiety, eating disorders, self-injury, suicide, trauma, grief support, just to name a few. That's TWLOHA.com. To Write Love on Her Arms. All you have to do is go to the website, all kinds of information right there readily available for you. I'm going to tell you, you go to that website, you take a look around, you do some focus, it can change everything for you. And I don't say that jokingly. So that's TWLOHA.com. To Write Love on Her Arms. So there you go. A lot of stuff going on inside of the world of the multiverse. Let me tell you about this other thing that is going on. Let's talk about this thing that is happening inside of Orlando next month. We will be having our observational symposium that will be taking place July the 13th in Orlando at the Aloma Cinema Grill. So what will we be doing that day? Well, we'll have Todd Conklin there talking about human and organizational performance. We'll have Nick Weatherly there talking about behavior-based safety, and I will be there talking about Signal. Of course, because we're in a movie theater environment, we'll be doing something a little bit different. We'll watch a documentary on that day as well. So quite a few things going on in that particular fashion if you would like to come and hang out, that's for sure. To find out more information, there's a couple of different ways you can do it. There's a QR code on your screen if you're watching the visual version of our show, which you can see on YouTube, Apple Podcast, our visual radio aspect. Just scan that QR code. That'll take care of everything. If not, you can go to safetyfm.io to find out more information. So July the 13th, it is a Monday. We're planning it onto that Monday because we would love for you to hang out in Orlando and do the things over the weekend prior to the event. So there you go, some options for you. safetyfm.io for more information. Okay, so with that being said, let's go ahead and do this. I have John Small waiting in the wing. Let him go ahead and tell us about the Motivation Minute.
Courtesy of JaceCaseMedical.com. Today's quote was submitted by James. Prince said, "Just start creating your day, then create your life." Excellent quote. Prince was an interesting guy. His music stood out. He was different. He was special. He was very talented. Did you know that Prince has about 8,000 songs that he completed but he never released to the public? He was so prolific that he would just have a song pop in his head, then he'd write it down and produce it just for him. Some of the songs were shared with the world, but many more, thousands more, are sitting in a vault at Paisley Park in the Twin Cities of Minnesota. I've heard that we would eventually get to hear some of these, but I don't know if that's true, or when that would even happen if it is true. I like most of what I've heard from Prince. I also like his advice to create a day, then create your life. So get out there today and create your future. The Motivation Minute. This has been the Motivation Minute. I'm John Small. Thanks for listening. Your favorite motivational quotes can be submitted for upcoming programs at motivationminute.org.
Here is the news on the Rated R Safety Show.
Parts of the central United States faced severe weather threats as forecasters warned of damaging winds, hail, and localized flooding.
Emergency managers urged residents to monitor conditions as storms moved across several states. Utility crews and local agencies remained ready for possible disruptions. Kyle Norris reporting.
Swiss voters rejected a proposal to cap population growth, preserving current policies and avoiding a potential clash with European partners.
Election officials reported the measure failed to gain enough public support nationwide. Government leaders said the outcome provides stability for future relations and planning. Lawrence Keller reporting.
Court actions and policy disputes continue to shape debate in Washington as several high-profile legal matters move forward.
Judges reviewed challenges involving federal authority and administrative decisions in separate cases. The rulings could influence future government actions and enforcement efforts. Kevin Sanders reporting.
New drone attacks deep inside Russia underscored the grinding war in Ukraine as leaders renewed diplomatic contacts ahead of major talks.
Russian authorities reported deaths and damage following Ukrainian strikes on key sites. Separate calls involving national leaders focused on possible steps toward reducing hostilities. Benjamin Wright reporting.
Taiwan expanded efforts against suspected espionage activities, highlighting growing security concerns as relations with mainland China remain strained.
Officials launched new measures aimed at identifying and reporting suspected intelligence threats. The move reflects broader efforts to strengthen security and public awareness. Gary Beck reporting.
Federal officials continue preparations for international meetings as major foreign policy issues and security concerns remained high on the national agenda.
Senior leaders held discussions with allies before a series of diplomatic gatherings. Several conflicts overseas are expected to dominate upcoming talks and negotiations. Jessica Oakley reporting.
Fresh strikes in Lebanon have rattled delicate diplomacy, raising fears that a widening regional conflict could upset emerging peace efforts.
Israeli forces hit targets near Beirut after cross-border attacks linked to Hezbollah. Iranian officials warned of a response while negotiators pressed ahead with ceasefire discussions. Chris Anderson reporting.
Transportation and travel agencies reported heavy seasonal demand as millions of Americans began summer trips across the country.
Airports and highways experienced increased traffic while officials monitored safety conditions closely. Travelers were advised to allow extra time and expect periodic delays. Liam White reporting.
And that's the latest news headlines with Alan Edwards.
Pop quiz, hotshot. During a heat wave, what's more important, air conditioning or air guitar?
Is it air conditioning?
Air guitar. The answer is always air guitar.
Oh, yeah, they always say that the answer is air guitar. That is what it definitely sounds like as we are talking. So there you go. Did you know we only have 5 days left?
First day of summer. 5 days and counting. Are you excited?
I am super excited.
I've been waiting a long time for this.
Okay, so there you go. 5 days until the summer starts for some as we are hanging out here. Okay, so let's talk about some things that happened back in today and this day in history. In 1933, the U.S. Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, the FDIC, is formed. What else is going on? Back in 1937, Marx Brothers, A Day at the Races, opens in L.A. In 1968, Leave Torino is the first to play all 4 rounds in a golf U.S. Open under par. Let's see. In 1991, Boris Yeltsin is elected to president to the Russian SSR. In 2015, Donald Trump launches his campaign for the Republican nomination for U.S. president at the Trump Towers. And in 2017, Amazon announces it is buying Whole Foods for $13.7 billion. So there you go. Okay, let's talk about some celebrity birthdays that are going on today. Billy Craddish turns, 87. Eddie Leverett, 84. Joan Van Ark, 83. Robert Durand, 75. Laurie Metcalf, 71. Missy Pragerman turns 44. And Diana DeGarmo turns 39 today. Really? Okay, so there you go. Some stuff to talk about. Okay, let's talk about some things that you ought to know, because that always seems to be important. Here are last night's Powerball numbers. It was for $269 million. It was 25, 55, 57, 60, 62, and 23. The power play was 2. Tonight's Mega Million jackpot was is for $430 million. Markets reacted positively after the U.S. and Iran announced an agreement to end the hostilities and reopen the strategically important Strait of Hormuz. Energy prices fell sharply on the news, easing the fears for supply disruption in the region. U.S. crude oil dropped 4.8% to $80.75 a barrel, while Brent crude fell 4.7% to $83.17 a barrel. Both benchmarks hit their lowest closing prices since the early March. Shortly after the conflict with Iran, fuel-related commodities also moved lower, with heating and oil falling more than 3.5%. And gasoline dropping over 2.5%. Global stock market rose as investors welcomed the signs of reduced tension. So there you go. Also, world leaders gathering at the G7 summit are dealing with the fallout of the Middle East conflict, energy security concerns, and growing debates over artificial intelligence and global stability. So there you go. A lot of stuff going on. Anyways, at the top of the hour, I will be going over to radiobig.fm if you want to come and hang out with me for the next couple hours or so. If you don't want to go over there, that's perfectly fine. You can hang out here on Safety FM with the likes of Sheldon Primus, as he will be talking about the world of safety consulting. So there you go. A lot of stuff going on inside of the multiverse of ours, that is for sure. If I can leave you with some words of wisdom for today, if suicide ever crossed your mind, you know what I would rather listen to is your story and then attend your funeral. So there you go. If you need some words of advice for today, to deter a spider from coming inside, spray around your windows and entries with diluted mixture of water and peppermint oil. They hate the smell of it. Wasps aren't fans either, so there you go. Anyways, that's going to sum it up for us. I know who you are. You know who I am. Love you, mean it, and goodbye.
The views and opinions expressed during this broadcast, podcast, or radio show are solely those of the host and guests and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Safety FM and or Radio Big. The content discussed, including examples of analysis, is provided for illustrative purposes only. It should not be applied as the sole solution in real-world scenarios, as it is based on limited and dated open source information. Any assumptions made during this broadcast, podcast, or radio show are not reflective of Safety FM and or Radio Big. No portion of this broadcast, podcast, or radio show may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, electronic, mechanical, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of Safety FM and or Radio Big. For permission requests, please contact Safety FM or Radio Big directly.
If you don't fight back, it'll make you pay. So fight back, then bury the hate. Everybody sing, oh, I've become